Hello and welcome back to the channel. I hope you are having a fantastic day. My name is Dylan, your spaced out wizardly host. I love reading sci-fi, I love reading fantasy, and I read a lot of it in the month of June. I had a very hefty TBR, which I did not stick to because one certain series just took over my entire month, but I got in some good solid reads before then, so we can talk about multiple things today. I had some absolutely incredible reads. I had some reads that just thoroughly disappointed me. And I've got a lot to talk about because, as you've noticed, I haven't been uploading any videos recently because I have been sick for the majority of June. I was sick at the start, I got good for a couple of weeks, tried to crank out as many videos as I could, and then got sick again and haven't made anything until now. That's why the wrap up is so late this month. I'm not fully healthy yet, but my chest is cleared enough for me to be able to speak, and hopefully my nose isn't too red for you guys on camera. And with that, before we dive into the video, make sure you leave a comment of the best and worst books you read in the month of June. Let me know what you're going to be reading in July. And whilst you're leaving a comment, make sure you like the video, subscribe. Let's have a good time, guys. Let's dive straight in with the first book I read this month. Demon in White, Christopher Rocchio, Book 3 of Suneater. 5 out of 5. This one instantly became the best book I've read all year. And that was from like the 20% mark. This series starts nice and slow. Empire of Silence, when I talk about Suneater, is the book that shows me that Christopher is a good writer and that I'm invested in the story, but the book itself wasn't really that interesting. It was very long, drawn out, and I didn't feel very invested, and I feel like the stakes were pretty low. But Howling Dark, when I read it last month, was so much more cohesive. It was still slow in the beginning, but you could just feel it building, feel something impending coming, and the ending was just so insane. I was like, oh yes, this series is 100% me, which I already knew from Empire of Silence, but Howling Dark was just a much better book, like that 4.75 out of 5. And once I was able to pick up and read Demon in White, I knew this is like an all-time favorite series for me. So 5 out of 5. The whole book is incredibly fast. We get an action scene for the first 30%, then we get like a slowed down archaeology research sort of point in the middle, and then action again at the end. Whereas the first book was just slow all the way through. The second book was slow all the way through with action at the end. So getting Demon in White, where it's action, slow down, action, fantastic. And for anyone that doesn't mind a slow read with someone that likes to show off beautiful writing, you have to check out Suneater. It's not Red Rising. You don't get the Red Rising speed and darkness until book 3. So the two series aren't comparable until you've gotten to book 3. Then my next read was my most disappointing read for the month, and that was The Sword of Kaigen by Emma Wong. Now, I rated this one a 4 out of 5 at the time, and I'm happy for it to be there, but I could also give it a 3.5 now. I did a full-on review on this one that I highly recommend checking out, where I go over why I don't think it's rated as appropriately. The Sword of Kaigen is a character study for a mother who has grown up in a society where the whole purpose of the society is to create strong sons to grow up and be warriors. So her warrior side is repressed, and every aspect of her is repressed apart from her just being a vessel for creating sons, which is really sad, of course. So it's a very interesting read, but the way it's styled out is the plot happens in the first 60%, and then we just get loose ends for the plot as we just dive further into this character study. And my brain doesn't like a plot with lots of loose ends. So going into the story not knowing that the plot of the story wasn't going to actually unfold and happen, and it was just going to be looking at the aftermath of this certain event that happens in the middle of the book, didn't work for me as much as it would have had I known that was what this book was going to be about. I think the hype that this book receives, the unanimous love, is one of the reasons why it didn't work for me as well, because I was expecting a 5 out of 5 just to be blown away, which I was. The world was great, the character work was great, just the plot just didn't hook me in. Now, as I mentioned in my last TBR video, I'm trying to expand my brain and look back at the classics that built the genres I loved. So I went into I, Robot by Isaac Asimov. And yeah, this was really fun. So basically going through a short story collection of 50 years of designing robots and having issues and working through those issues. So we're looking at when humans get to the stage where we're building robots, what are the questions we need to be thinking about to make sure these robots aren't going to be the end of human civilization? And I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5, and I definitely have to read more Asimov because the man's a genius. Then the last book I read before my TBR just got out of control was The Curse of the Mistwraith by Janny Wirtz. And this is one I'm going to have to make a separate video for, as I have a lot of thoughts. This is book one of an 11-book massive epic fantasy series, and the way I describe Curse of the Mistwraith and The Wars of Light and Shadow by Janny Wirtz, this really felt like a blending of Malazan and The Wheel of Time. So we've got a big, massive classic fantasy story, and it feels very classic fantasy-ish, but the writing just feels very Erickson. This isn't just like your easy to read classic fantasy that you're going to fly through. This is something that you're going to have to slow down and digest all the language that Janny's using and all the things she's trying to inference as she goes. There's a lot in these books that you won't pick out the first time. The writing style is really interesting. We've got the third person omniscient writing style like June. And the way each chapter is structured is we get one main chunk of story, we almost call it a short story, and then we get a few more paragraphs from one person's POV that's on a separate story, and then right at the end we get 3 short lines of 3 other little stories that are going on in this massive world. So at the whole time the story just feels big, massive, expansive, and the whole world feels alive. So I really think if you're a Malazan fan, if you're a Wheel of Time fan, if you love that big epic fantasy, this is like the next series you have to read, and I don't feel like enough people have read this series for the amount of people that could love it. Now, here's where my month kind of got out of hand. After reading a big, massive epic fantasy series, I needed some sci-fi, so I went back to Tales of a Sun Eater. Volume 1. This is the first short story collection in the Sun Eater universe. There's 3 or 4 of them now, and I flew through this. Just lots of short stories from the Sun Eater world, fantastic. And after that, I was like, all right, I could read the second volume, which is also recommended to read before book 4, but you don't have to read it. So I just dove straight back into the big books. I read Kingdoms of Death, Ashes of Man, Disquiet Gods, all back to back within like a week or two. I could not put these books down. Once I put Demon and White down, I wanted to take a break because book 7 is not coming out till December next year, likely. So I was like, I should slowly pace these out. But once I read the short stories and then picked up Kingdoms of Death, I could not put these down. So Kingdoms of Death, I thought things were going to slow down after the pace of Demon and White. Given how slow the first 2 books were, I thought we'd slow down for a bit. I couldn't be more wrong. Kingdoms of Death just took off from the start. We got a massive twist. Things got really dark. This book was emotionally draining. This book was just crushing and dark, and I did not see the series going in this place. Then in Ashes of Man, things just kept that sort of intensity, that sort of those high-level stakes. I was drawn into every page, the constant reveals, the amount of information we're getting revealed, being book 5 of a series. I haven't been this deep into a massive series in such a long time. I forgot how good character moments can be when you've spent 5 books with a character, and just the epicness and scope just kept going higher and higher. I had a great time with Ashes of Man too. It shattered me. I was up at night just sweating in my bed reading that book. And I finished off with Disquiet Gods. So this is the only Sun Eater book I read this month that wasn't a 5 out of 5. Demon and White, Kingdoms of Death, Ashes of Man, all 5 out of 5s. Disquiet Gods, I gave a 4.5 out of 5. Just because this book was massive, and being the second to last book in a series where we already know what the ending is going to be, it's kind of like we just had to see the things that had to happen to get us to that last book. So it was a little bit more predictable, and it was a lot slower. And just given the heights and the speed and the stakes of the previous books, I just wasn't ready for this story to slow down and then for the stakes to drop. But I still had a great time with it, like another 4.5 out of 5. Like, it's a fantastic read. But I could also give it a 4 out of 5, you know? So if I had to rank the Sun Eater books, I think I'd go 1A, Kingdoms of Death, 2A, Demon and White, 2B, Ashes of Man, and then 3A, Howling Dark, 3B, Disquiet Gods, 4, Empire of Silence. I think there, maybe Disquiet Gods just above Howling Dark, but yeah, that's how I would rank them so far. If you've read Sun Eater, please let me know your rankings as well. Thank you so much for watching this video today. I hope you have a fantastic reading month in July. I hope you've had a good first week of July already. Have a great day, guys.